The post-Trish Stratus and Lita era of the Divas division was very bumpy. It's really clear what those two and their level of importance meant to the division as a whole, because when they were away, it amounted to almost nothing. That's no over-exaggeration or controlling the narrative. May of 2005. Trish Stratus is out with a long-term injury, 4 months. Trish disappeared with the title because nobody was in their eyes a viable challenger, and the only feud they had in the women's division was Victoria and Christy Hemme, and that didn't last long. By the time both women came back, there was something ignited, and this carried until after WrestleMania 22. It was around this time where WWE started featuring the former Diva Search women a lot, women like Maria, then Michelle McCool on SmackDown, and they placed a bigger importance on Candice Michelle later in the year. She was competing more often and actually getting better in the ring. She wasn't no 2007 Shawn Michaels or anything like that, but compared to most of the women on the roster, she was high in the totem pole, especially for somebody who came through the Diva Search. It meant that she had a level of commitment if you would have, and this was enough to push her harder. Candice Michelle elaborated on this in an interview with Wrestling Inc. And I quote, "One of the biggest lessons I learned from Vince McMahon was, I give you a platform. I remember sitting in this meeting with all the superstars. He's like, I give you a platform. It's up to you what you do with it. And I was hired as eye candy. We all know that. I came from Hollywood. Everybody there was saying they're trying to pretty up the business. And in my eyes, I'm an athlete. I was going to college for basketball. I was a kickboxer. I did all this stuff. And I was acting. This is my dream job, not to mention I grew up on wrestling. I was like, how did this come full circle for me to actually have this audition? When I got this contract, I knew that I was going to become the next women's champion. They had no idea. They were like, oh, put on some lingerie, do all the pillow fights and all that stuff. But what people didn't see is I would show up to every house show 2 hours early. I would watch them put the ring up. I would get in the ring with them. I didn't have the opportunity to go to wrestling school and learn wrestling moves. I had to learn everything on the road, and so the only way I thought that I could learn was if I show up early. And then people started to see that I was really putting in the work. I'd come home to LA. I rented this wrestling ring, cost me $3 a day. There's broken down chicken coops over there, a weird barking dog over there, and the owner says, just don't bump in this area. You might fall through. I was like, okay, all right, I got it. We got in that ring. We hit the ropes over and over again. When I would show you, they're like, wait, she's improving a little. Then slowly, I remember Big Show getting in the ring with me one time and taking a bump. Umaga got in there to take the bump, and then it slowly progressed. And I started to see, okay, she's serious about this. And then they started to put some energy into me. And then with GoDaddy launching, that gave me the notoriety to say, all right, let's put her center stage. Okay, it was post-WrestleMania. Melina was the women's champion, and clear as day, it was obvious. It was obvious that Candice was next in line because they needed new talent up there. And other than Mickie James, there wasn't much. Not to mention, this was before the likes of Beth Phoenix and Gail Kim debuting and returning. Her feud with Melina was based in reality. Both women had some animosity for each other, and I went into detail with it in this video. But Candice Michelle managed to win the title at Vengeance Night of Champions, a night that was eventful for everything that happened outside of the ring. For WWE, Candice Michelle as champion is a positive because she had a very famous GoDaddy commercial. And not to mention, she was solid in ring. Melina was left distraught and flat out pissed over Vengeance and immediately made an impact in front of the new champion. She then decided to confront her and ended up falling on her back. They were scheduled to face off in a tag team match, but apparently Melina sprained her ankle or had a slight knock, so she brought her replacement, Beth Phoenix. This was her official debut on the main roster, and last time around, she got injured and went back to developmental. She had a great showing, and despite Mickie James' efforts, the heels were victorious. Melina's issues didn't stop her from attacking after the match, and so it was clear where this was heading. It was heading towards a match for the Great American Bash. As for their match at the pay-per-view, solid. Some pure wrestling early on with Melina going for an arm lock. Her dominance was on display, and Candice seemed to match this intensity, but Melina's experience allowed her to take the edge in this battle. She realized being out-wrestled wasn't the way to go and moved on. Her aggression overwhelmed the champion, allowed her to work on wearing down Candice. Comeback sequence, crossbody gives her a near fall, and once again, being aggressive allowed for Melina to counter, but her frustration with Candice's resiliency was slowly getting to her. The champion escapes and boom, standing bulldog to retain the title. Solid match. You should watch it if you have an interest in the woman from this time period. It's decent, you know. You think, oh, this match is not good, whatever. This was actually solid, especially for someone like Candice Michelle, who was 1 year ago in a Super Bowl commercial with GoDaddy, doing the whole Diva Search thing. Now she knows how to wrestle a bit. The talk of Candice Michelle improving was clearly on display here. Her skills were slowly getting better, and the base was there. You know, you could see in general that she had an understanding of what was going on, and some stuff feels loose, but there was room for improvement. I mean, it's not like anyone expected her to be world class, especially from her background, because she wasn't born into this business or started wrestling when she was 18. No, she actually just came in a couple of years earlier. She was getting better with every match. And again, there was a lot of optimism towards her because of the level of improvement she had made in the last few months. You know, if she could do this in a few months, what could she do in a year? Okay, because the coach hated John Cena, he made him team up with Candice Michelle to face Kaden Murdoch and Umaga in a handicap match. She tried to make him reconsider it, saying if he has a problem with John Cena, then he could deal with him. But he said that he needed her and added that she's a champion. It's like, oh, you're gonna do good out there. And then there's a clip of these three walking. Candice was left at a huge disadvantage. Despite Cena's efforts, he was unable to stop them and she had to be saved by Jeff Hardy. Cena capitalizes on this and wins the match, but takes an RKO afterwards. So where did Candice go from here? Her next challenger was to be determined by a battle royal at SummerSlam. Beth Phoenix won the match to become the #1 contender, and heading into the pay-per-view Unforgiven, the Glamazon displayed a high level of power and domination that Candice Michelle was unfamiliar with. She destroyed Maria with ease, and once again the following week, she then told Candice Michelle that she's facing a diva that nobody's seen before. The ultimate combination of strength, confidence, and beauty, and she followed up. Candice tries to make the save, but Beth doesn't even move. Zero fear, zero hesitation, none of that. And if anything, Candice was the one who was scared. The champion got to learn firsthand what the Glamazon was all about, and it didn't reflect well on her chances at Unforgiven. The ball was in Phoenix's court. She was everything she said she was and never looked vulnerable in the slightest. The same couldn't be said for Candice. The match saw the champion out of her element. It was a mauling, and her first opening led to absolutely nothing. If anything, Beth was too aggressive in forgetting the main task of this match. And this led to a crucifix pin attempt that led to Candice Michelle retaining the Women's Championship. Again, solid story with the champion under any circumstances fighting or stealing their way to victory. Beth Phoenix was portrayed as a monster who was too deep in her own hype to realize she had the match won on countless occasions. And clearly this was far from over. After Candice Michelle's tag team win the next night on Raw, the Glamazon bullied and reminded her of what's ahead. Once again, she had Candice's number in tag team action. Hell in her eyes, it was a foregone conclusion at this point that she was beating her at No Mercy. She told Lillian Garcia to announce her as the new Women's Champion, but then she added assuming and threatened, because Lillian Garcia is like, assuming you beat Candice Michelle at No Mercy. She grabs her, she's about to beat her up or something when Candice quickly makes a save and finally gets one over her ahead of No Mercy. About this match this time around, Candice was much more aggressive and had more of an urgency to fight back and win the match. Crossbody from the top almost gets her the win, but it wasn't enough. Phoenix fights back and connects with the cradle suplex to win the title. Beth Phoenix was brought to tears and felt that this win validated her as the perfect combination of beauty and strength. So there it is. Candice Michelle's 3.5-month title reign had finally come to an end. Again, as I said, she was improving with every match. Slowly but surely, she was on her way to doing well. As an in-ring performer. Unfortunately, though, this is where it peaked because she suffered an injury the following week on Raw, and she was never the same. The injury came as a result of a botched aerial move. Candice was on the top rope. She was about to do something. Beth Phoenix bumps into the ropes. She collapses and falls, which broke her collarbone. She was out for 5 months. It was a very big injury that changed the way WWE viewed injuries. Their whole protocol was entirely changed after this. And for Candice, at face value, it was like, oh, she's out for 5 months. But it was basically the beginning of the end of her wrestling career. She was going places. July to October 2007, she was going places. And once again, I'm not trying to oversell or anything like that, but she was actually solid. She wasn't bad. And after this, she just wasn't going to go back to the same Candice Michelle that she was in ring. So yeah. Alright, what do you guys give this title reign? Please comment down below. And that's for this video. Make sure you hit the cross button and the like button, or perhaps the standing bulldog on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.